Hi, everybody. Dr. Zach here. I hope that you're all having a fantastic day. I hope that everybody heard the fantastic news that we're going to get back to life as usual pre-COVID now that we've got this amazing new magic vaccine that came out. Are you guys excited about this? In case you have been asleep, Pfizer came out yesterday. Today is the November 10th. So yesterday, November 9th, they came out and said, hey, guess what? We got this vaccine. And we're super excited about it. It's going to be ready for release here pretty quick. And it's 90% effective for COVID-19. And I wanted to follow up on a report that I gave a couple weeks ago that came from the British Medical Journal. And it talked about, what should we be looking for with the new COVID-19 vaccine? Well, they said that it should be reducing the number of hospitalizations, so basically reducing the intensity of the infection if we were to get it, or reducing the spreading of the disease. So we don't spread it to as many people so that it can actually kind of work its way out. And if you remember from that article, I said that neither one of those things are what is actually going to happen from the vaccine. That's not even something that they're looking into or researching. So what they're doing is they're basically saying, hey, you know what, if we take two groups of people and we give one group a placebo and one group the vaccine, is there going to be a difference in the number of COVID cases that come out? And they said, yeah, that 90% of the COVID cases that they measured in the first group that went through this was people who had not gotten the vaccine. So you kind of go, okay, that's pretty good. That's a good thing. But what they failed to say is that, with those that did get the vaccine, there were some pretty profound side effects that came with that. And I've talked about that before as well, in that there was two phases of this. Phase one, the first vaccine that they got, and people were saying, yeah, I got sick, I got feverish, I got lethargic, I was kind of laying around, I just didn't feel good. I felt like I got hit fairly hard. And it was a majority of them that experienced that. In fact, in some of the trials, it was all of them that experienced that. And then it went on to the second phase. So 21 days later, they would get phase two, or the booster that came from it. And so it's interesting. I've actually got an article here that focuses mostly on Pfizer, because there's four big contenders out of the 30 or something that started on this basically this campaign to come out with a COVID-19 vaccine. And so now Pfizer is in the lead. We've got Moderna that's out there, and we've got a couple others, AstraZeneca and some of these others. They all at some point have actually stopped or halted the trials because of the side effects that were coming out. But I wanted to read about a particular one here. This is a guy named Luke. He said that he was a participant in the vaccine trial testing Pfizer's candidate, so this one that is the 90% effective. And it said that he woke up with chills, shaking so hard he cracked a tooth after taking the second dose. I've had chills. I've been in bed, curled up under the blanket, shaking. I've never busted any teeth. So that sounds like a fairly extreme response. It said that Pfizer previously said some participants in phase one trials experienced mild COVID-19 symptoms, but Pfizer said it was a minority of the cases. So, this is one of the things I've talked about with the flu vaccine in the past, is that while the manufacturers say that the flu vaccine doesn't cause the flu, everybody that I know that gets the flu shot that ends up with the flu says that it does cause the flu. So the manufacturers say, no, it's not the flu, it's just flu-like symptoms. So call it what you will. I wouldn't want to take a vaccine to prevent something and end up feeling like I got that. So here's one person that said after getting the first shot, he said he felt a little under the weather for several days with a low-grade fever. This is a guy that was in his 20s. Most 20-year-olds don't even know they've got COVID. They're only going to find out if they have to do some kind of random testing. So this guy was under the weather for several days. Then he got his second shot. 8 hours later, he said that he was in bed, bound with a fever of over 101, shakes, chills, pounding headache, shortness of breath. He said that he had pain in his arm where he received the shot. It felt like a goose ache on his shoulder. Hardly slept that night, recording that his temperature was higher than 100 degrees for 5 hours. After 12 hours, he said that he finally started to get a little bit of relief from that, but he was struck by the severity and the duration of what went on. He said that he signed a lengthy consent form, so he knew that there was nothing he could do about it, but he feels like people need to at least know kind of what they're getting in for. It says that as companies progress through clinical trials, several vaccine manufacturers abandoned their highest doses, reporting reports of more severe reactions. So they had to kind of back off on stuff, and good thing they were paying attention and they did that. We go on to see another one. This is another person in their 20s. They experienced nausea after the first shot, but it wasn't until the second that things really got bad. He said he woke up at 1 a.m. with chills and a fever of 104 degrees. He said the fever went down after he took Advil and Tylenol, but it lasted until around 8 p.m. And if you've ever listened to us where we talk about having a fever and taking Tylenol, that can be one of the most tragic things you can do for actually your brain health. The Tylenol does cross the blood-brain barrier and can go into the brain, and especially when there's fever, indications of inflammation, increased blood flow to that area, it has been linked to actually causing some issues with cognitive loss, memory loss, all kinds of issues that go on with altered brain function. So anyway, the bottom line with the people that were interviewed in this Pfizer-specific report said that they just want to make sure that the public is aware that of what they're getting into with the vaccine. And I think this is important because if you look at the people that are picked for vaccine trials, it's going to be people that are healthy. We're not going to be picking the people that are dealing with comorbidities that are going to be at risk for dying from the disease anyway, because they're not going to have as good outcomes and it's not going to sell as many vaccines. So they're picking out healthy people, and these people are ones that, again, probably wouldn't even really experience anything with COVID-19, but certainly not to the extent that we seem to be showing up with the side effects. Then it goes on to say this is actually a doctor for the Center for Health Policy and Outcomes at Memorial Sloan Kettering. And he said that this is kind of a different scenario with the vaccine as well, because he wants to make sure that people are aware that some of the benefits to some young and healthy groups may be secondary in nature. Secondary benefits in nature to some of these younger people. What does that mean? In other words, getting a coronavirus vaccine, like wearing a mask, I'm reading that right off the page here, may be an act of service to help protect others. Nobody saw that coming, right? You've not heard me say at all that the mask isn't about, preventing a virus. It's about getting us conditioned so that we will take one for the team, that we'll do it for the greater good. And the bottom line is that me wearing a mask doesn't make you healthy. Me getting a vaccine doesn't make you healthy. We need to come to terms with this, is that we have to take responsibility for our own health. You can wear a mask, that's fine. You can get a vaccine, that's fine. Don't expect me to do those things for your health, though. Not because I don't love you. I'm actually showing my compassion for you by giving you a better truth, that you don't have to rely upon those things. I shared a report that I put out on March 9th. So it was something that I posted on March 9th, and I just sent it out again, and it was an article titled, "They Found the Cure." And this was taking the information that had come out of China. This is before we even had COVID here in the United States. And there was a 97% recovery rate from COVID in China at the very beginning of things on March 9th. And I put that out there because I said, we're going to get this information coming at us that we need a vaccine, that we need medication, we need something to get this cure. But guess what? Way back in March in China, they had 97% recovery. We're well beyond 99% now. We don't need a vaccine. We don't need a mask. We don't need a drug. We need an immune system, and we need to take care of it. So that's the thing that I want to leave you with today, is that, this vaccine is being promoted as the end-all, save-all of all humanity. And there's really some brilliance to the marketing on that. And here's where that comes in, is that we've seen historically the vaccine manufacturers will say, well, look what happens. I printed up this chart that you can see here, and this actually has to do with measles. And it shows the number of cases of measles here. There's actually the people that actually were dying from the measles, and it shows where the vaccine came in. And we go, whoa, look at that. That vaccine just saved our lives, right? And so this is kind of what that bigger picture looks like. What they don't show us is that bigger picture is actually taken from this right in here. They've taken this part out. But guess what? This kind of looks like what COVID has done to us. We had this wave Now we see the mortality rate is almost down to nothing. It's leveled off and stable. If we come out with a vaccine right now, but we show this other part right here, right past that, where it drops off profoundly, all of a sudden we can go out there and say, hey, we saved humanity. This is how vaccines work. Isn't that fantastic? Here we see the same thing with polio, right? We see the cases of polio that were up in here, and then we see where the vaccine was actually administered, and we see that it actually created a little spike, but then it settled down from there. How was it doing before the vaccine came out? It was getting better, right? So here's the brilliance to that, is that if you want to make millions with a vaccine, just wait until the body creates an immune response to where we get past the wave, introduce the vaccine, show the last part of that as things continue to level off, and you kind of go, hey, guess what? I just saved humanity. Guess what? This is typhoid. You see a similar thing. We see the wave coming up, and we see things coming down, mortality decreasing from here. Guess what there never was for typhoid? Vaccine. They didn't come out with a vaccine that was universally administered, but guess what? It took care of itself. It's gone. We've seen the same thing here locally with West Nile, where nobody had it. Then we started to see a lot of cases. We saw quite a few, and now we've seen it almost disappear. We've forgotten about it because this is the way things go. It's the way it's always been. We don't need vaccines. We need immune systems. We need to take care of those, and that comes back to our lifestyle. Eating right, exercising, making sure that our nerve system is working well by seeing our chiropractor and getting adjusted, having healthy relationships, having a positive mindset, and understanding and trusting that the same power that created us is the power that heals us. It comes no other way. So with that, the really, really good news isn't that we have a vaccine. The really, really good news is you don't need one. So with that, God bless you guys. Have an amazing day.